podcast listeners, and welcome to another episode of Not For Profit, the podcast where we interview people about their path to their purpose and their struggles to stay on that path. Today's episode, it's a pretty amazing one. We interview this guy named Harry, who is a clown, a professional clown, and variety arts master. That is a sort of subgenre of entertainment actors in like that are on variety shows and other things doing special skills, special talents. He's been doing it since like 96, so over 20 years, and it's something that he's grown very passionate about, and it gives him a real sense of joy when he sees like what he can do and how people react to what he does. And it also requires an immense amount of talent and skill and patience. And really, like, I didn't know much about clowns or variety artists before this interview, so I learned so much, and I think you will as well. So without further ado, please listen to Harry's story. We're gonna have a part 2 as well, going more into the clowning, but this is sort of more of an overall thing. Anyway, enjoy. After Ringlings, you said?
Yeah. After Ringling, which I toured for 2 years, I said, you know what? Time to get back into the acting training, take off the red nose. And I auditioned for a few schools, and I got into UNC Chapel Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was a 3-year program. So, yeah. I mean, then I moved here to New York in 2002. After that.
Okay, 2002.
Yeah. So literally it was like, before Ringling, I was doing a Broadway Disney musical review in Okinawa, Japan for 4 months. Moved to New York in 1995. Then I was doing some auditioning here and there, and I felt like I wasn't too ready to be here yet. And then I auditioned for grad schools then. Didn't get in, but I got into clown college in 96. And I auditioned at Madison Square Garden, and I got in, and I got on tour for 2 years. So at the end of the schooling, they had a graduation show, and they accepted
for Ringling.
For Ringling,
okay.
Yeah. So they accepted like 35 students, and they said that it was harder to get into clown college than it was statistically,
right,
to get into Yale or Harvard,
right?
Wow. Based on the numbers of applicants.
Yeah.
There was one guy he that I was auditioning with. It was his 8th time auditioning.
Wow.
That year, I mean, and he was just jumping around the cities. And he did not get in. I didn't see him in school.
Wait, I have a question.
Yeah.
So you had to audition for the college.
Yeah.
Clown college. What kind of audition is it?
I was gonna ask. What is required of an audition?
It was like, well, first off, like the application is like a 20-page application. Mm-hmm. So they really get into as far as questions, like, who are you as a person?
Yeah.
When was the last time you laughed? When was the last time you cried? Have you ever done pot? Who's your favorite actor? Who's your comedic actor? I mean, it was a very extensive profile, yeah. Because they were taking people from all walks of life, not just performers, I mean, in clown college, there was a girl. She was an accountant. There were other people who had totally different careers, but they were looking for a change or whatever, something different. And so that's where the numbers that came out were so vast. They just weren't performers that were trying to audition, but the actual audition process was just a bunch of improv exercises.
Okay.
Yeah, like just all improv. Like a lot of times there was solo improv and then group improv. And they kind of just broke you down, they kind of just, and you just had to let loose, you could, I think that they're definitely looking to people who were directable and who had, I think, good comic timing here and there, but they just literally had to put a tight class together, 30 people, that could gel together and get along in a certain way. I think that's also why they really kind of looked at that. I think they probably looked at more so the application too, that multi-page application as opposed to the actual like audition itself. But yeah, it was, yeah. I mean, it was, you know, I think it was thankful. I was thankful that I got in because had I got into grad school that year,
it was 96.
It was in 96.
Yeah.
Clown College closed their doors in 97 after 97.
Wow.
So it was kind of like, it was kind of, you know, it maybe meant to be because I did Ringling, toured for 2 years, and then I auditioned for grad schools again, and one was Chapel Hill, which I auditioned back in 96, didn't get in then,
right.
But then because so many years later, I think they just, it wasn't the same person I was auditioning for. So there was another lady who was holding the auditions. She knew the old Clown College director, Steve Smith.
Oh.
So there was some kind of like, I don't know, in there, you know. But then again, when you put a grad school class together of 6-7 people, they want diverse people from diverse backgrounds, and I hoped I gave a good audition, you know.
Yeah.
I think I did, but yeah, I hope it was my talent, my raw talent. But I think it was, honestly, I feel it could have been my Ringling background that I was maybe going to bring into the program and just, you know, and see where they could build off that, you know, just that part of me. But also, when I was in grad school, there were parts of my Ringling experience that they had to extract a lot of because, you know, I was very, you know, I was making a lot of faces. I was, you know, I did it, you know, a lot of time acting, you know, acting is very, just breaking to it's just being simple.
Right.
You know, and there were a lot of times I was, you know, just kind of presenting.
Yeah. My
movement teacher for an entire year, he had to actually fix my walk because I walked penguin-footed because I think for 2 years I had these clown shoes on that forced me to walk like I had flippers on. So he literally had to. He just stopped class. He would say, "I want you to walk across the floor," and I was like, "Okay." He was like, "Yeah, so just you know, just want to see your feet. You know, see your feet. I just straighten your feet. Now, tell me." And he would ask the class, does this guy, when he fixes walk, does he look more of a leading man, more commanding? Again, you know, I know my style. I mean, I know coming out of grad school, I'm going to get the physical comedy roles. You know, I'm a comedic actor.
Right.
But again, it's also, can you transform into somebody else, a leading man? Or so my walk had to be fixed for you know, in his eyes, and I totally got it, you know, because, you know, I walk like Charlie Chaplin, you know.
Yeah.
That's gonna you know, in an audition for whatever, you know, True West, or, you know, or just anything, any other type of role that's not comedic, that's gonna come across as like, what's this guy? What's his walk like? I mean, there's something going on with his walk. You know, he looks like a clown. You know? But then, so they just had to, like, you know, kind of just fix things that I think I took from the circus.
Yeah, performing for a giant
circle absolutely,
of
yeah.
people.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember Orson Welles. He was told who's the greatest actor of all time. He said James Cagney because he knew how to perform for 1,000 people at once, and that's why he was the best.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean,
and everyone's surprised by that answer because they didn't think he was gonna say James Cagney.
Yeah.
You know. And
okay.
Cagney was he was also like not a party animal. He like stayed at home. He was a homebody.
Yeah.
He didn't like, you know, the Hollywood crazy life.
Yeah.
But people don't know that about him because they think he's like a wild and crazy guy.
Yeah.
He wasn't at all. He was all about, you know, and he was a dancer and a singer and
I think a lot of
talented.
There are just a lot of actors, performers who can really light it up on stage and film, you know, and then are, you know, in life, you know, that are just on the street or as a person, you know, they're a completely different, you know, person. Not that they're, you know what I mean? They can just be completely uninhibited, you know, when they're when they're acting, you know. And it's like when you see these type of people normally just on stage or in TV and film. I mean, I think a lot of people just think that they're that way, you know. Like, I mean, one of my favorite actors, actually, that I actually put down on the Clown College application was Jack Lemmon. I mean, to me, I think the one movie that stuck out as a kid, and I've watched it over and over again, was The Great Race. With it's an old one, it's an old flick. I think it was Blake Edwards' movie with Natalie Wood, Tony Curtis, Peter Falk, and Jack Lemmon. And Jack Lemmon, you know, real quick, he played Professor Fate, but he was able his comic timing, his physicality was just mind blowing to me as a 7th grader. I just like, and then not only that, he doubled up on a role in that same movie as Prince Hapnik, the flamboyant gay-esque prince from Pottsdorf, you know. So there was a double role he was playing, and it was just mind blowing. If you ever get to see some of that stuff that he did in that movie, that just sold me on comedy, physical comedy, you know, and it inspired me too as I went through high school, doing high school plays and blah blah blah. But I put that on my application because he was the guy that just, you know, totally opened up a kind of like a whole new world for me, you know, just watching somebody do that. My brother and I shared a lot in common too, as far as like humor, you know. He's down in Virginia, but
your older brother?
Oh, younger brother. Year and a
Okay.
half younger, yeah.
Yeah.
But
he's a performer as well?
he's not. No.
Okay.
He's in the finance world. He does, you know,
finance.
He's got a wife and 2 kids, but no, all very supportive. But again, just one of the few people that just gets me like belly aching laughing, and again, you know, just us, just, you know, back in our childhood, just making each other laugh, and you know, and through the years we just get each other, and I think it's also just, you know, just the common things we watched, you know, through the years, but yeah, I mean, back to Jack Lemmon, you know, and just that's, you know, that's who did it for me, you know, and he, again, he's also an actor that's very transformable, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, comedy and serious. It's amazing.
Yeah. Have you seen Glenn Ross?
I know what it is, but I haven't watched.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Yeah. Like David Mamet.
Play.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin's in it.
Yeah.
And
He's-
Al Pacino.
I don't read it.
Yeah, and he's done some great stuff with just adorable, like sincere movies, like what's that one? The Apartment.
Yeah, The Apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a famous one.
Yeah. Then there's also Tiger. It was something I thought I had Tiger and Roses and Tiger. I forgot the name, but again, just another really powerful movie, you know, that he's done. You know, but he can really just change it up, you know. But his comedy stuff was just fantastic.
So you did Ringling Brothers for 2 years.
Mhm.
Then you did grad school for 3 years.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then what happened after grad school?
Well, I came here.
In New York,
I came right, yeah.
2002.
In 2002. I kind of just joined the rat race, you know, which is all fine. You know, what was nice about grad school is I was able to get the equity card out of grad school.
Okay.
So that was fantastic because UNC has like their own professional theater on campus, Playmakers Rep. But so we were able to earn points through the years and through understudying, and that was a nice golden ticket right there.
Yeah.
I mean, just to have that equity card coming out of grad school with the MFA, you know, you just came back to New York. I came back to New York with my head higher, you know.
Right.
Literally, I think that's the thing. And I was in New York in '95. I was like, I had my EMC card. I felt like I was a little green, you know. I wasn't auditioning too much. You know what I mean? I just kind of was feeling it out. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ready to be here yet, you know?
Yeah.
I loved it. But I think just the segue into Ringling and getting into Ringling was an interesting, was a cool out. I was performing, I was still doing my thing, and then journeying back grad school. I got into grad school, and I was back with a piece of paper and with my equity card. And so I started auditioning, you know. My first big like equity showcase was Michael Frayn's The Sneeze. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a collection of like short stories, short plays that he translated from Chekhov. And one it's a great short. It's called The Proposal, and it's literally about this poor guy, Lomov, who has to get up the courage to ask out his neighbor her hand in marriage, but he goes through anxiety attacks, palpitations. He breaks down. You know, and it's a really fun short. But I was cast in that, and I actually did that one in grad school. And I remember it. I was like, oh my God, this is perfect. It's loaded with physical comedy. It's loaded with just, you know, tit for tat acting. You know, just there's arguing there. You can be simple too. You know, you don't have to, but yet you can be big. You know, and that was like pretty much a lot of the collection of his plays. It was a collection of like several, but they're all broad characters. You know, but that one I landed that one, and I was fortunate enough I did it at the Jose Quintero Theater, which was on Theater Row. It's not there anymore. I look at a lot of those theaters just went out, like to the John Houseman Theater. There is a Theater Row, but it's really done up now. You know, it's they have the Walter Kerr Theater. There's just a collection of them, but yeah, the Jose Quintero Theater was just a little offbeat, you know, off, you know, theater house on 42nd, way over on the west side, and I owe it. And it was my first time I got introduced to a casting director and a couple agents, but I owe it all to an usher, just some usher who saw me in that show. He contacted somebody that was on the board of the Signature Theater Company. The guy came, he saw me. He was actually friends with Michael Frayn. Michael Frayn almost came to see it, but that's what he told me. But he had another engagement. He saw me, this board director, and he said, "This guy, I need to introduce him to a few agents and a few casting directors." And that's how I got my first agent. You know, it kind of it was great. It kind of hit the ground running, you know. But I owe it all to some unnamed usher that I've never met. That actually gave me my first.
Oh, you
break.
never even met the person?
Never met the usher.
Oh.
Never met the usher. No, the usher just he said, "Hey," he said, "This is what Jack told me." That's his name. I haven't talked to him in years, but he said this usher just contacted him and said, "You got to see this guy in the show." I'm not trying to be fool myself, but this is, you know, but he said, "This guy's really funny. You know, this guy is really great. You got to see his antics, you know," and that was kind of like my first, like, oh my God, you know, I just came out of grad school. I came in and bam, you know, I'm meeting the casting director who got Edward Norton's start, you know, Jack Beaver. Meeting him and Charles Rosen, and I was freelancing with a couple agents through that, you know, and it was, you know, I got just through that I actually, you know, got some more response out of that than my actual showcase in grad school. But that's okay, you know, it's okay. You know, it was something, and that's another thing too is you can just sit there and just throw. And I get it, an actor has to do it, but if you're in a show, you just throw out like postcards and mailings and all that. So you just blanket all the agents, all the casting directors, hoping somebody comes to see you in a show. Like somebody, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like you hope somebody like, oh, and a lot of times there's no big names in your cast, so they're not gonna see. They're not gonna be like, well, you know. Are they gonna come down to, somewhere downtown or way on the west side. Well, this was actually, it was conveniently located, but again, that was just an usher that just got me that. But you just sit there and you're like, my God, how can I get an agent to come see me? But so that wasn't even. I think I did some mailings. I might have, but mailings didn't work. It was some nice usher.
It just happened.
It just happened, and I was kind of floored. I was kind of like, man, like, what randomness,
Yeah.
It was just so random. Like, you think, okay, this is a classic example of a referral. You just get, and a lot of times when you meet agents and all that, it is through referral.
Right.
And that was a referral to a referral to a referral. I mean, you know what I mean? It was the domino effect of, it just, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't even know this person.
You were probably doing your best when you were up there.
Absolutely,
it touched that person.
Yeah, exactly. And I knew, and I knew I was in my element in that play, in that show. I just knew it. I knew that I'm like, I knew I was going to kill it. I knew it. Because I'd done it before, and I was bringing something new to it. You always bring something. You always find new things, and it's funny because there was another actress. It's funny. It's really weird. The actress who was acting opposite me. She was I forgot her name. Her name is Leslie Ko. She was Korean.
Okay.
It was like, I think it was like her first time in a it might have been her first time in a play. I think it might have been just I can't say that. I don't know.
Right.
I don't want to say that because I don't know. However, it was interesting because there was a moment where Leslie, I hope you're out there somewhere. You're listening. No, but it's all. But I remember, it was backstage, and I remember she was going through a little anxiety herself, and I was like, wait a minute, I'm the one who's supposed to anxiety. I'm playing Lomov. but it was all fine. It was like But again, that experience and that cast was it gave me different. I was receiving a lot, just so much different things from them than the other cast I was in. So you just, you receive and you give back what you're getting, and just from different cast members. But that was a fun one, and I just remember I was just like, okay, this is the show I need to be in, fresh out of the gate. I'm like, is this divine intervention here? Like, what? I couldn't ask for anything better. And I got my first kind of like break with the industry. And through the years, of being here, I started again getting. I was back involved in the variety world because I started like making money, doing some variety, like the circus variety. A juggling gig here and there, a unicycle gig here and there, just to earn some money.
Did you learn those skills at the school, college?
At Ringling, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, my skill that I had to learn was, I chose unicycling. Okay. Some people chose stilts, some people chose rolling globe, some people, they just had to learn, they had to pick something to put in the show, and I had just so long to put a unicycle in the graduation show. I mean, I think I was doing riding across, and I might have done a couple pinwheels with another guy, riding around. So, but yeah, that was in '96. So I've been on a unicycle for like 20 years plus, and I'm good at it. I mean, I think the unicycle gets me a lot of work. It's got me a lot of TV work. It got me on Gotham.
TV. They love special skills.
They do. Yeah. Absolutely. And I've gotten more TV stuff through just having special skills like that than anything else.
Right.
And I've gotten that through, again, circus connections or just circus contacts. Big Apple Circus got me the audition, hooked me up with Gotham, where Gotham, the TV show, they rented out they took over like on a dark day, the entire Big Apple Circus tent.
Right.
They put background actors in the seats. The episode was, I think, The Blind Fortune Teller, where I think it was a great one. It was really, I think it was the reveal of the Joker.
Okay.
You know, in that jail cell, he has that monologue. But it was that one where you blink and you miss me. But but I'm riding around quickly on a unicycle, and the scene is at the end of the Trapeze Act, which was the introduction of like Robin. The Graysons.
Right.
Something happened. Well, the story was like, who killed the snake charmer? You know, there was like this, which was the mother of the Joker apparently. But the clowns, there was strife backstage, and so apparently that all kind of spilled out into the arena, because when the trapeze artist, you know, took a bow, the clown car bursts in unannounced, and the clowns kind of sabotage their bow by breaking out of the clown car, and there's a big brawl on in the arena between the clowns and the acrobats. And I come in on a unicycle and I get tackled by a trapeze artist. And so it was that scene, and then and the detective comes out of the audience and he breaks it up. But no, I mean, that was a nice little break. I mean, you know, nice little like, you know, principal role. Like, I was considered a principal. You know, I couldn't see my face. I was completely in whiteface. You know, but I mean, stuff like that. You know, I got a nice little little appearance on the John Oliver show too. You know, a couple years ago. Just
because he has these huge set pieces at the end of his shows, where a bunch of performers come on doing some random thing.
Yeah, it was this episode on like it was a segment on gerrymandering. Mm-hmm. You know, and it was during the election. I think it was just post-elections or something like that. But it was basically, you know, I think his whole thing was every voice needs to be heard here, you know, from the hipster riding around on the unicycle for his mode of transportation. And there's me waving, you know, the Nazi-loving old lady who you know, I mean, they're you know, he's just joking about you know, like every voice, you know, should be heard or whatever.
Right.
Of course, he's joking about the Nazi lady. You know, it's just, I think it was just blanketing like all people, you know, whether you're racist or whether you're a hipster on a unicycle riding across the stage, you know.
Are you good at impressions too?
Couple here and there.
Because I heard you lightly impersonating John Oliver. I can hear it a little bit.
Oh really? Oh god.
Just a little. Just
really?
A little. Yeah.
Oh wow. Oh gosh.
I've never heard anyone try to imitate John Oliver before, you know.
Oh, you know what? Because I think I'm actually doing his inflection when he's like,
right. His inflection.
And everybody's, you know, from the hipster who for his only mode of transportation, you know, and the beer drinking, you know, guzzling, you know, womanizer. Hey, he needs a beer too. And this guy comes out with like literally like, you know, beer bongs and funnels, you know, and he's got this like shirt with pink writing, like, you know, whatever, like, you know, just derogatory comments on that shirt, you know. But so it was a fun segment. From, you know, and got me. I was on Jimmy, just making brief appearances on Jimmy Kimmel, and I was on the Wendy Williams show last October. Yeah, you know, just again, you know, but again, the unicycles in the variety world has got me some really cool stuff. You know, I gotta thank, you know, like again, you know, I have to go back, you know, and thank the guy who took a chance on me, Dick Monday. You know, he was the Clown College director. Back in the day, you know, when I went to Clown College, and it's him that actually gave me a chance to go to Clown College, and if I did not have that journey, I mean, had I not had that experience, I just would not. I can't even believe, like, I can't imagine not knowing the community I know now. You know, such a genuine, fun community. I mean, there's so many people that I know here in New York from my past, like. I mean, several clowns that I went to Clown College with, you know. and it's just it's a great thing. It's a beautiful community, and I owe it to that guy, that said, you know what, I'm gonna bring him in, and all these opportunities I've had, it's through that. It's through him. It's through. I had to trace it back to that. Because who knows? I don't know. I mean, maybe I would have veered off into the varieties somewhere, another angle, but maybe not. I don't know. But just that Ringling, that startup there, just got me, just really a big part of my chapter in life, my journey in life. And I was fortunate enough to do grad school, but then if I had gotten into clown college again, or grad school in '96, clown college would not have been there when I got out. If it was like, man, not the way it was, and now Ringling, Ringling's just done.
When did they finish?
I want to say their last show was like, I could be wrong, but I'm just going to throw out a guess here, like maybe May of 2015, 2016, somewhere in there. Like a few years back.
I remember when it happened.
Yeah.
I went to a show once in Manhattan when I was in like '96.
Wow. Well, you remember?
It was in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
And
do you know a white-faced clown with a green and a red bozo wig?
Maybe. I was a kid. I was so young.
Oh, yeah.
And I'd never seen anything like the Circus.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember like there's a plant in the audience that joins the act.
Sure. Oh, those are great.
Yeah,
those are great.
It was like, what?
Oh my god, those are great. Especially when the plant and the shell or the plant really does a great acting job too, where like they're just like, oh, okay, and they have no idea. Like you think that they're just, but they're a lot of times some of those routines they pop off incredible skill. So all of a sudden they're either being tossed around or they're just it's a skill-oriented act, and you're just like, oh my god, what is happening? You're like, but then you realize, okay, well, that I think you catch on, but sometimes you don't. You're just like, oh my god, But plants are great, like when they're in on the act and they just come out as you think they're just a pedestrian,
So you performed at Madison Square a lot? Okay.
Yeah.
Probably a good chance I did see you.
I was 97. I was there in '98. So
98. Okay.
I was 98. You might have seen in '96. I think you probably either saw. Well, yeah, no. Was it the Ariana tour, the Human Arrow, where she, was like a crossbow, and then she was kind of the equivalent of the Human Cannonball, but it was Ariana, the Ariana tour.
Maybe
the Human Arrow.
It's very vague.
Yeah. No, it's a big wash. Sometimes when it's a 3-ring circus, you're just like all the bells, whistles, ricka-racka. It just becomes sometimes even the grand finale act. It's like because I think there's a lot of amazing stuff in between. You're just like, well, it can become like kind of a wash unless it's like a like a hippo. I don't know. Like you just remember like certain. Oh God, I remember the kangaroo on the pig's back with and the cat on the top of the pig, and on the top of the cat there's a rat. Sometimes those images stick out, and clearly they have those acts.
You still do gigs for the Big Apple?
I do, yeah. So, and that's interesting because Big Apple has been extremely kind to me. A great community, and it's a great New York circus, But yeah, I still do a lot of events for them, like pre-show entertainment. For private parties at the tent. I have never toured with Big Apple Circus.
Yeah.
I was actually never in their circus, but I'm part of their talent pool where, oh hey, we got a Big Apple Circus outreach thing at a high school, for example, in Long Island, at or it's a fundraising event, or it's some kind of actual, and then they'll pull me in for do some and I have a few skills under my sleeve, like sear wheel, to a lot of lasso, a lot of trick roping too. I mean, I do a lot of stuff. I don't just do.
Yeah, right.
I just don't do clown anymore. I think clowning, I still do that, but that's just another part on the resume,
Right.
I mean, literally one week I could be I've had one entire week of gigs where one night I was a mime, the next night I was a trick roping cowboy, the next night I was a stilt walker. I mean, the next night I was a hipster on a unicycle. I mean, it just, it just runs the gamut. I could, it's different hats,
Right.
Cowboy hat one day at a barbecue, mime the next. And you're like, a lot of times on Facebook or social media, I'll put that split up like, I was this on Monday and I was a cowboy, a mime one day and then a cowboy the next, and you would never think of the same person, But the Big Apple was like, actually, they got me a gig on the Britney Spears Circus tour. I was her tour. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was in 2009. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I again, I was just, you talk about like a nail-biting experience. Like, literally, they only hired like a few clowns and talent for the pre-show and to work the VIP tents. And it was only a handful of us, but I remember getting a call. I was talking to the lady who was booking that, who worked for Big Apple Circus. Her name was Karen. She's great. She actually lives in the area here. She said, Harry, okay, here's the deal. It's between you and a magician they want. So it's a 50% and it's 50%. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, oh my God, I so bad want to go on this tour. I mean, it was just to be part of that entourage, just to be part of that experience.
Yeah.
I'm like, what, I so bad want to do this. Because they were going to fly out to the Sony studios out in LA where they were rehearsing the show. And I was like, okay, all right. So I'm like sitting there waiting, and she calls back, and I'm like, oh yeah. It's like, well, it's either yes or no. And so they went with me because they actually have a magician in the show, Ed Alonso, he was a great magician. So they thought, what, the magician in the show is probably enough where they don't need a magician to do maybe VIP stuff. I'm assuming. So, but anyway, I got the decision to do it, or they decided on me, which is great. That was, again, don't take things for granted, because a beautiful gig like that doesn't last forever. It was just really they really catered to you in a way. The tour bus was like, leather seats and a loaded tour bus with the food, they put you in the best hotels. You're with Britney Spears, and it was just great to be a part of that. It was, and it was a good chunk of change. And you're just sitting there like, okay, because the other week, I was a stilt walker in front of a Verizon store handing out flyers for like $100. You're like, wow. Next week you're making 20. I don't even like, just you're like, my God. You're part of a well-paid gig that it's a tour, it's a run. You're like, oh my God. You're like, this is, So I did the American leg, like the first part of the American leg tour, and they made some cutbacks when they went overseas. But hey, you know what? The fact that I was able to do that was great.
How long was the tour?
The tour was, I think it started like in April of 2009, and I think it went through the summer, and I think I actually went through the next year.
Wow.
But I think it did, because they came back, they did the European tour, and then 2 weeks before they were going to Ireland, I got a call like, hey, they're making cutbacks and they're getting rid of a couple clowns. You're one of them. I'm like, oh, all right, oh God. So what? The next day, I'm like, hey, Mike, what do you got for me? I'm around. And then I was like, stilt walker, at way out in Brooklyn, handing out flyers. But hey, you just can't take things for granted. You just, it's the gig world, it's the gig life, man. And that's that. You say, well, the Britney Spears tour was a gig, it was a gig. That was, but I had a whole new respect for the dancers on that show, just what they put in that show. That show, they toured that show around with 34 semi trucks, 18-wheelers, 34 toured that, loaded that show and traveled around the country. It was an amazing. Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and you saw all the digitality, you saw all the people behind that, and the world underneath that stage, the hydraulics and everything. It was just amazing, Yeah, it was. You're just like, oh wow, this is special, And I was so happy to be a part of it, like.
Mike is your agent?
He's one of them. Yeah,
he's one of them. Okay.
Yeah, Michael Bongar. But I freelance with. He's a great guy. He did Ringling years ago, and I met him through Clown College. He came down and did some workshops, and he's here in New York. But I freelance with a bunch of people. Like, I mean, that's what's nice about the variety arts is as opposed to the acting world. I mean, you can freelance with a lot of people in the acting world too, but you don't have to. You're not signing. In the acting world, you can sign with people. You sign with an agent, But with in the variety arts, you just freelance with a bunch. The more the merrier, and sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes you get a couple agents that are literally like pitching you for the same gig too. Oh. That's happening. That's actually happened like on several occasions. Actually, you're just like, oof. You're like, it's like, well, you know what? I'll work. I mean, but I'm not. This is my price tag, and it's like, well, so it's going to come down to, I guess, the agent taking their less of a cut or whatever. But you just know you're like, oh man, it's the gig with okay. So it's this gig, okay? It's a unicycling gig. They want you to deliver pizzas on a unicycle, all right? And then you're like, okay. And then you get a message from another agent. Yeah, I got this gig for you. It's a unicycling gig. They want you to deliver. Blah blah. You're like, oh god, it's the same gig. And you're just like, well, all right. It is what it is. But
it's called variety arts. That's like.
Variety arts. It's like variety arts entertainment. It's that spans like a wide spectrum of of talent, from the burlesque world to magicians to clowns, mimes, trick ropers. I mean, trick roping, unicyclists. I mean, it's like, you fall under that type of a name. An actor is not a variety. It's not variety art. No. But. I mean, it can be, but yeah, it's like, and so I do a lot of stuff. Like I'm considered like a multi-talent. So I mean, I if I were to do a list of things I do, mime, clowning, stilt walking, unicycling, juggling, trick roping, sear wheel. That's a metal ring, spinning, do these crazy tricks, spinning cube. I mean, so I can do a lot of stuff, which works in my favor. I think it does. I mean, it does. Absolutely. I mean, I'm not. It gets me more work. I mean, and I love it. Again, I'm still performing. I'm still entertaining. I'm still entertaining the crowds. I'm still being that performer, actor. I mean, I feel like I'm still an actor. Like I feel like they say there's that saying where clowns can be actors, but actors can't necessarily be clowns.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like clowns can they're present in a way where they can adapt in so many ways. You become it's unscripted territory too when you think about it. Also, I was a non-talking clown, and so I think clowning is you don't talk. I mean, you're talking. That's a whole different category thing, I don't even know why. That's not. I mean, there are talk. I mean, I think Jerry Lewis is a talking clown. I mean, actors, okay, yeah, he's a clown without makeup on. Jack Lemmon. I mean, there are people who can just light it up with physical comedy. But if you're talking, you're a physical actor, comedic actor. But clowning, if you've got the makeup on, if you're just like, hey, yeah, like, hey, I'm like, well. Again, that's a whole different thing. There are party clowns who do that, and you break that the fourth wall that way. But again, this type of clowning where you're engaged and you're making kind of just discoveries, based on your interaction with people out in the middle of, like.
So it's more related to mimes than.
I think yes. I
never even realized this distinction. I never thought about it.
I think clowning and mime are they're very similar. Like, I think mimes, though, the clowns use props.
Right.
They use big props. They can pick things up. Big, they can. Mimes do. Again, mime is miming.
Right. Very specific.
Yeah, a clowning act is like, I think a clown act is like you have a blow off. There's like a blow off in the end. There's like a payoff. If you're doing a clowning act, it has a big. Not that mime shows don't have a beginning, a middle, end, but a mime show is a different thing. You're creating a world through miming. Taking somebody on a date or miming drinking something. Blah blah. You're miming everything. However, I've done several mime gigs where I'm a mime, like the NYU Gala graduation day every May. That's, for an example, that's 3 hours of miming, out in the middle of the crowds. So I'm just, everywhere you turn, there's just somebody new. There's somebody new. There's somebody hasn't seen you yet. Does it, So to me, that it never gets old. But there's this constant play but you are thrown out to the dogs in that way. You're out there. You just gotta. You can't be pedestrian. You've got to go out there and be a little aggressive in that way. So if I go back to, can actors, they a lot of times actors, there's some order to what they have a script, they do preparation, and no, I mean, there's some beautiful work on stage that actors do in film and TV, but clowning on the, you go, I think actors can't make sometimes can't make the step over as easily, that's my interpretation of that saying,
And they say that about stand-ups too. Like, stand-ups can act, but actors can rarely do stand-up.
Well, that's the thing, yeah, because you're exposed in a way. Yeah. Actors, I get it. You got your lines read. You're prepared. You have your technique. You have this. You know what's going to happen. You go, and that's why improv. You take some improv exercises, and we took an improv class in grad school, and that, again, you're just like, that's being present in a way that you're like, you know what I mean, like, and a lot of people think that improv, you got to be funny, you can't. If you think about being funny, you're dead.
Right.
It's just about accepting, embracing, and there is that whole thing. And I think that's the thing with clowning and mime, when you're out there in the crowds and you're breaking that fourth wall, it's, you say yes to everything,
Right.
You yes and, that's what improv, the classic improv exercises, or philosophy is, in improv, if somebody gives you something, if I say to you, hey, it's a beautiful day out, right?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Boy, and look at those birds, And then,
Blue jays, I don't see those around very often.
No, right, and especially that pterodactyl that just flew by. I mean, that's really, what's, you're just, and you kind of like, and you're just, but if I were to say, hey, it's a beautiful day out, and if you were to say, no, it's not, I mean, you're just completely, you completely killed it. So you're like, so there's just, and I feel like there's again a loose formula to improv that, again, maybe it can be very scary to actors who are so set with technique and with order of stuff. However, on stage, you do have to be organic and be present, and you can't, there is that, but it's confined to something that, hey, I'm safe here. That the clown world, the mime world, when you go out there, in stand up, it's not safe. You're exposed in a way that is scary, and a lot of times, stand ups, it's in that respect, you are meant to get a laugh. You are designed to make people laugh, and that's the thing too. It's like that's the thing. You want to get the smiles. You want to get the laughter. And if you don't, you're like, well, either they're a wine and cheese crowd. They're with you. They're with you. They're smiling. They're with you. I think they appreciate you. Well, No, I want to hear the guffaws, you know. I want to hear the laughter, you know. So that type of thing, you know, it's like it you know, the comedy world is just, you know, you want a reaction, and that's laughter, you know. And so I think like in that really like that raw world of clowning and miming, and you're out there with breaking that fourth wall with people, it's just, you know, you just can't be there's a sense of like you can't be self-conscious, you know. Yeah. As soon as you start being like self-conscious, you're done. Like they all have the upper hand, you know. It's like if somebody gives you shit, you know, somebody is giving you like you got to go with it. You got to, you know, you can't walk away from it, you know. You do that, you know, unless some kid's trying to pull your nose, or you're trying to like, you know, and that's happened too, where you know, people, especially kids, they, you know, they try to sabotage your work, and you know, you're like, well, all right, yeah, okay, now I have to, because they're following me around, you know. And usually it's not teenagers or not adults, you know, because if that's the case, then, you know, they deserve to be punched, you know. Yeah, like you're like, okay, well, you know, whatever, you know what I mean. But when you have problem, I'll go to the kid sector. When you have problem kids that just start just sabotaging your work and just not, you know, then you just, you know, could be like, you know, all right, it's time to talk to the parent, you know, I'll be that clown or mime, whatever. And normally that's the thing. It's like when you're a clown and a mime, you become almost like a punching bag to people. And you're demeaned, you know, there's this sense of they have the upper hand, you know. Countless times when I mime, or especially with kids, groups of kids, you know, at certain events, you know, they just gotta get you to talk. You know, they're just trying to get you to talk. They're trying to get a sound out of you, and you're just like, what can I do to that? You know what I mean? It is what it is, but it's like, you know, you get through the gig, you make that money, you're just like, you know, and it's like, well, down the road, if you get a call, hey, I got this mime gig, you know, for a, you know, a perm festival or a bat mitzvah out, and you know, I'm like, no, no, sorry, you know, what? I'm sorry, how many? It's kids, huh? And they want a mime? No, that's not gonna happen anymore. I just can't. I know what to expect, you know. I you know, when you're like, okay, well, because more often than not, it becomes that, you know. You're just like, well, why? Okay, I can make the nice, you know, few $100 or whatever, but is it worth that? You know, I'm like, I can save it. I can save that experience, you know, because I know what I'm gonna get, you know, more often than not. But not with adults, you know. I mean, not, you know. Done a lot of mime gigs like in bars, you know, they want to mime, you know, and that's fun, you know. I mean, I did one mime gig. Again, sometimes you have to really just, okay, I'm miming 3 hours for the same people. I'm like, what am I doing? I gotta really just change it up here. It was like on a yacht. I remember that was a few years back. It was on a yacht for like 80 German men, you know. German men. Yeah. And they wanted to mime. I'm like, all right, you know. It's like, all right, yeah, all right, okay, right. Making the money. So Thursday night, I got nothing going on. You know, I'll be in mine. And I'm like, all right, these guys, all right, the novelty's wearing off. You're like, okay, what, all right, now we're in. It's the same guys. I'm like, okay, well, all right. What, you know, I can mime jumping off, which they probably would appreciate, the boat, you know. But then I started actually just miming, like literally getting behind the buffet and just miming, like giving like service, just giving them food. You know, you're just kind of like, all right, well, I need to fill this time here, you know. And it's like, so you're like, okay, but you got to do it, you know. You can't be like, all right. You know, you can't be like, okay, you know, I'm fizzling out here. And you don't want them to see that you're kind of like fizzling out, you know? You just gotta, oh yeah, you gotta go back in your break, you know? You make your break, you're like in your back of there and somewhere underneath the deck, and you're like, you know, all right, what's next? Okay, what's up there? Okay, there's a buffet, I'm butlering drinks. Okay, yeah, all right, okay. All right, that's what I'm gonna do, you know, okay. You know, because there's no dance hour, there's no nothing, you know, these guys are just sitting at the tables, there's nothing, there's not even music. I'm like, what am I, you know, like, I'm a mime for 3 hours on the yacht, I'm stuck on a yacht. Wow. But, you know, but that's an example of, you're like, but they were, you know, that's one outside where you're like, I think they like me, I think they appreciate me, but I'm not going to get into their dish now, I'm not going to get into their conversations, because they've seen the mime already, and you know what I mean. And I've engaged with everybody. I think I'll be that mime doing something in the corner, and if they catch me, like, what's that mime doing? Oh, hey, you know, and they'll, oh, hey, all right, I got it, yeah, you know, like, as opposed to, you know, getting in there, like, and getting into their, like, okay, back off, guy, back off, you know. You just got to feel it out, you know. For example, I think that's an example of, like, I just know people couldn't do that. Like certain actors, like like actors, like, you know, we couldn't, I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm just saying, like, if I'm going back to, you know, people who like kind of like order to stuff, like, I like to memorize my lines, I like to do this and that, and say, hey, you know, hey, I got this mime gig for you. You care to? No, sorry, or it's. I think some people just couldn't do stuff like. I feel like that. Those are examples of just like you're just thrown out there, and you just got to go for it. You know, in a way where it's not safe. It's not a safe environment. And I know acting, like doing a play, is safe. It's a safe rehearsals. You don't break the fourth wall. You know, it's it. You know, there's a wall. You know that the audience is there, but you're not breaking the fourth wall. And as soon as you're making eye contact and breaking that fourth wall, that's a whole other story. You know, and some people just can't do that. You know. I can do both, you know, and I actually I think some of my favorite gigs are mime gigs, you know, because doing that, just being thrown out there, and I have a friend Joel, and I think it's the best compliment ever. He's a great clown. He's got a show coming up in the city called The Artist Will Be With You in a Moment. I'm gonna go check it out. I highly recommend it. He just said, you know, when you post these mime pictures or mime videos, you know, I just say to myself, where is Harry at right now? You know what I mean? I go by Harry too, but you just like, where is he? Like, what world? Like, it's almost kind of like, where, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you know what? That's exactly where I want to be. You know, like, I want to be in that world that you're asking. You know, because that's what you got to be. You got to be you got to be out there. You know. You'd have to be, you know, you almost have to be in the world, but outside the world, looking in too, but you're in it, you know, because you're engaging with it in a way that you aren't, you know, you're walking by people, if you see, you know, if you're at this gala, for instance, if you see a kid or somebody, you know, licking an ice cream cone, you're just going to walk past, you know, But if a mime, you know, it's like you got to pick up that baton and create your own, or what is that? You got to make something out of it, you know. So you just got to be constantly in that world. And I feel those mime gigs and clowning are more exhausting than me on a unicycle for 3 hours, you know, because it's engagement. It is active, mentally, physically engaged, like active in a way that, like, I was on a unicycle gig at the American Dream. There's this mall. I don't know if you've heard of it in Jersey. It's this huge mall out there in East Rutherford. It's called American Dream, where it's these malls that are now called entertainment recreational complexes. But DreamWorks has their own water park in there. Nickelodeon Universe has their own roller coaster park in there. There's a ski slopes with ski lifts, and it's all inside. But I was out there last weekend for President's Day weekend. But I was, you know, again, I was hamming it up, but I was a guy in a bowler hat and, you know, and a bow tie and a loud vest, just on a unicycle for 3 hours. It's like, that stuff to me is like, I'm gonna say this, like in a good way, like getting paid to practice. Mm-hmm. Because, but you're in a costume, you know. I can be on a unicycle riding around practicing in jeans and a t-shirt, you know, and doing a lot of the same things. I mean, I'm really good on the unicycle, but in those situations when you're in front of a crowd, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll bring out a steering wheel and look like I'm out of control and hamming it up in front of the kids, and it works. I mean, I can do that for 3 hours. I can do that, and to me, that's less exhausting than miming, you know, because mime is you can't talk. You gotta the idea is to be funny, and you know, you can't walk around a mime, you know, and just be pedestrian. You've got to amp that up like crazy amounts, you know, as opposed to, you know what I mean, being I'm a happy-go-lucky guy on a unicycle, or, you know, a trick-working cowboy. Hey, you know, you know, you can interact. You can, you know, you're kind of look like everybody else a little bit, you know, and you're not as off-putting, you know, but you just got to feel it out with mime stuff and clowning stuff, especially if you're being, you know, if you're not going to talk and it's all physical stuff, you know, and you're thrown out into the crowds. But that being said, it's just being present constantly, you know, and just making discoveries and exploring.
What do you think is the what drives you to keep doing this? Because it sounds like a very challenging like a profession.
Yeah.
And I am freelancing now, and I know a lot of freelancers, and sometimes they talk about how their jobs, you know, it suck and it's hard, and, you know, they sometimes get cynical. But you've been doing this for a long time, and your gig sounds like it sounds very humbling to me. But you're driving, you're still doing it, and you're driving. But also, I get a lot of positivity from you, and like a lot of like there's a spark in you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thanks.
So I'm curious to hear what is it that any advice or tips or.
You know, it's like, I feel like, you know, you just gotta you just gotta love, you know. I feel like freelance stuff, and I feel like my life is I really enjoy the journey of it all, and I'm not. There's that where you say like you want to reach a goal. There's a goal, but there's all this stuff in between, and I just feel like I don't know. When people ask me like what my goal is, I'm finding it, but I'm finding it just like through the world of freelancing and entertaining that, and I know it's completely unpredictable. It's seasonal, and that's where I was like, well, you know, when people say what's your 5-year plan, and I'm like, well, you know, next week I plan to be on a unicycle, you know, in front of a bunch of kids, you know, and you know. I think what drives me is stuff like this. Like there are some, again, for example, little things like a friend of mine on Facebook sent me a message saying, hey, a coworker told me about a guy on a unicycle making funny faces, the goofiest guy, and he made my daughter so happy, you know. Like, my daughter was so happy, and this was at the American Dream Mall, and my friend showed him a picture of me. He was like, that's the guy, we loved him. And it's like that's stuff, like, you know what I mean, it like stuff I save that, you know, and that was like one of the biggest compliments ever. Like, again, you know, you don't realize who you're affecting. Like, you know, I was out there just hamming up, you know, and if I could spread a beautiful smile on a daughter's face, who knows, like, you know, like whatever that family is going through, whatever, you know, it could be a good family, you know, but that daughter was just like really just stoked to see me and watch me, and it made her really happy. I don't know. I think it's just like, it's just in the blood. It's just in the blood. I can't imagine doing anything else. Like I think that's the thing too. Is I can't imagine doing anything else. You know, I'm 50. I just turned 50 back in November, and I've been doing this for a long, long time. It definitely has its up and downs. You know, it's seasonal. Works slow in January and February. You know what I mean? You just got to sometimes adjust. I mean, I do cater once in a while. I've been with a catering company for like 10 years. A great catering company. I don't do a lot of it, but again, it's a fun catering company. A lot. I love the people. Once in a while I'll do it, just to pick up some slack, you know. But it's just, again, you know, it's like, I had a friend who said, you know, I could never do what you do. I can't. The unpredictability, I could never just do it. I could never do that. And I think that's my life has just been that too. Like, I mean, I've always been a performer. I always gigged, and I've had really low paying gigs. My first gig ever, theater gig ever, was at an outdoor drama down in North Carolina, in Cherokee, called Onto These Hills. I mean, I was, just making like $150 a week. But this was back in 1991. And again, I was still in college. So you're going back to college, but you're just like, oh man, it's like this. It's just kind of like I was just being groomed. Like, okay, this is life. This is this is an outdoor drama. I played a Confederate soldier. In the end, the Trail of Tears, prodding Indians along, and I played a barfly, and I understudied a Creek warrior where I had to wear Texas dirt and a loincloth and a mohawk wig. I had to fight Junaluska. But you're just like, okay, But then again, you look back on all of that, and I just have to look back, in my past and say where. It's just a chronology of everything, and it just I look back on it, and I'm here, I'm still doing what I'm doing, and I'm still doing what I love. I love the practice too. So there's always something to learn. It doesn't get stale. It doesn't get stagnant. Never. Right. I mean, I'm still working on 5-ball juggling. I mean, most throws I've gotten was 21. I'm still battling it out, but it's a goal of mine. It's an attainable goal, but will I ever put 5 balls in a show? I don't know, maybe. But I love trick roping. I love this. So I have a lot of stuff I do. Now, could I just say, you know what, throw it all away and I'll just be a trick roper. Screw the juggling, screw the unicycle, the other stuff. I'm just going to focus on. And I'm still in the world of arts, like I'm not chucking it away and say, I'm going to get a 9-to-5 job. I can't do this anymore. I need stability. I'm not married. I don't have any kids either. So, would that have changed things? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think I'd still be doing what I'm doing. But again,
so you have to adjust. Like the fluidity, the plasticity of it that really keeps it alive. Because freelancers you're talking about are kind of doing gigs they hate.
Yeah.
I think it's about, because in the beginning you were talking about how people are very goal oriented, so they forget about like now and
they forget, right? Yeah, there's that. You just gotta love the journey. The journey. You have to. If you're always like, I'll be happy. Happiness is down there. If happiness is down there, well, happiness, like, there's that saying too. It's like, like, God, I'll be, like, I can't wait, or the happiness is like an unattainable goal. Like, well, you gotta be happy now. It's, like, I mean, if happiness is when you get that, then, well, what I mean? What's, you're just like, well, you gotta be happy, and you gotta take the, the punches as you go along. Now, freelancing gigs you hate, like, I mean, for instance, like sometimes I'll pick and choose my battles with gigs I'm offered, like stilt gigs. I don't like, I'll do them here and there, but it's not my favorite. A lot of times I don't know what the ground's like. I don't, and I don't know what the crowd's like. And for me, it's like I do a lot of stuff on the ground, with using my hands and unicycling, and a lot of times just taking a bad fall on a stilt gig can just take you out of commission for a long time, and it's nothing. I mean, stilts is not. I'm not gonna say it's nothing. Like it right now, people normally use painter stilts to walk stilts, and drywall stilts. Which is a lot easier than the pegs now, I don't know if you've seen some of those guys, the drywall stilts, they're metal, and it's like, it's to get the high points in the wall when they're painting. They're adjustable. And if you've got some good costumes, you wear those and you're a stilt person, and it's, they're not difficult to learn. However, you take a bad fall on slippery ground, you're taking a bad fall. And that's like, I won't do parades anymore or anything like that on them, but but yeah, I mean, like but I've suffered through some gigs that I'm like, this is rough, but I think that a lot of times I can maybe pick and choose some battles, and I can say, oh, like a mime gig at a kid's party. I don't know if that's going to go so well, I don't want. I think it's almost the equivalent of if you're on a freelance gig and somebody's yelling at you, or it's not a good environment. You're being, you know what I mean? If it's not a good work environment with the people, I would say that like that's the equivalent of like, I feel like I'm a punching bag, at a mime gig, around a bunch of like kids, because that's what you are, so I'm like, oh well, I can save that for another time, but the freelance world, I just meet a lot of great people, and I work with a lot of great companies, so it's also like, just the different parties, different events, just the different themes, I mean, I love doing a barbecue, as a trick roper, and they hired a trick roper, I love that, I love a mime gig, like the next day, because it just feeds into my, pool of talents that I like, that I love. Being just a mime, I don't think I could do that, I love miming. I love it. And I know what it takes to be a mime. It takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of it takes a lot of endurance, energy. It does. To be good, to be a good one, to be somebody that's like, hey, you're out there and you're gonna make people laugh. You're gonna be that mime that they're gonna remember, or that unicycler that kid's gonna remember. I want to be, you want to touch somebody in a good way, and I feel like they all do that, and that's what I think keeps me going. It's always fresh.
Do you ever want to mix? Do you ever act?
Stage stuff, like this,
or anything like TV, film. Stage?
Yeah. I'd be honest. I haven't auditioned in such a long time. Yeah. Like I have not auditioned for a good play, or a TV film in a long time. And it's not that I don't want to do it. And that's one thing though, is am I compromising another thing I love for all this other stuff? Because I feel like I'm an actor too. If I'm going to be a variety artist, to me, variety arts is all the other stuff, but it's actor too. Yeah. Because we'll go back to clowns can be actors and actors. Right. I feel like to me now it's like I'm more a variety artist in that world. But actor is part of that. I feel like it's in the I guess it has to be for some people a separate category. Right. If for agents, like, well, it's like I see all this. So all this stuff, circus, blah 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 blah. But what plays have you been in? What, and it's like, so you become pigeonholed. You kind of become sectioned out as like, oh wait, no, I think we got some things for you. We'll call you when when we need somebody on a unicycle. Hey, no, we're definitely gonna, because we're gonna put you on file here because I would assume I don't have an agent right now, but if I were to actually go into the commercial side of it and say I'd seek somebody out, I'd be plugging that. I'd be plugging. Oh well, I do all this stuff, But I'm an actor too. I have an MFA. Mm-hmm. I'm an actor. But my resume over the years has been mostly variety arts. Mm-hmm. If I were to say, what play have I been in? Well, I did this live stage version of a silent film a couple years ago, but it was great. It was silent film. It was no talking. Right. It was talking in the end because we broke out again of the fourth wall into this modern world, and all of a sudden we found our voices, and we're like, oh my god, what's happening? It's these silent film characters that just busted out, and you're like, and all of a sudden you're talking, and you're like, and you're just discovering you have a voice. It was the end scene, in comedic style, but that was great. But just being on that stage in front of a preceding audience, you know, and I miss that. I miss that, and I just need to get back into that. You know, I haven't picked up a backstage in a long time, or checked out like I said,
it's a website now, right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
It's not even a magazine.
I know, right?
Oh, it used to be a magazine.
Yeah. Even the Ross reports, you know.
Yeah.
The old Ross reports where it's like, those are that's gone. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's I don't even know where you look up agents' name. Probably online. But I just get the Ross reports, and you're like, you know, you just.
Oh, it's IMDb kind of now.
Yeah.
IMDb Pro.
Yeah. That's interesting a lot, because that's again, the game has changed a lot with like agents looking for actors, and because of social media now, it's like I know like in grad school, when I went to grad school, I have a friend out in UCLA. He's getting his grad degree, and I need to ask him, but I think it's true. I think now they have special courses in building up your social media profile, like Instagram. Because I think a lot of times now is, you know, it's your actor page on Instagram. You know, you can put up headshots. You can put up little maybe blurbs of videos you've done. You know, and also a lot of times when people when agents are looking or they're shopping around, or you come to an agent, especially if you're young, I think one big question is, how many followers do you have? You know, you know, like what's your social media? You know, like what you know, because a lot of times, you know, departments actually just seek out, like, well, now on YouTube they kind of seek out like talent. You know, they have whole departments, but Instagram, social media is a big thing now. You know, with you know, that type of thing. You know, but. When I was in grad school, that was never, you know, that was it's a whole different thing. I mean, we were still doing mailing. It was literally like manila envelopes, 300 of them thrown in the mail. I mean, you're not doing it anymore.
Yeah.
And even back then, they threw them out. For the most part, they just threw them out, you know, or, you know, yeah. Like, you know, I had a friend who was I will not name her, but she was an assistant for an agent, and this agent was going to one of these like actor things, you know, like these mass actor kind of like you pay
to play.
You pay to play. You pay.
Yeah.
You pay to pay.
Right.
And the agent said, "Oh God, I just feel like just such a whore doing this, because like you know, it's just some money. I make a chunk of change out of it, and it's like." She wasn't going to see anybody. It was just, you know what I mean? It was like, wow, you know, and she kind of heard firsthand that, you know, it's like, you know, the agent was like, ugh, you know, like, like, I'm not looking for anybody, you know?
Yeah.
Like, you know, in so many words, you know?
It's an hour.
Yeah, so I think we're going to stop because we went way over.
Okay.
That's fine.
I hope it was a good one, you know?
Oh yeah, it was great.
Yeah, no, this is really nice. Yeah.
It's a super rare. Wow, so that was awesome. Tough crowds, right? Every performer knows about that, live performer. Yeah, it's so interesting. I didn't realize what kind of different audiences there were, especially for the different types of acts you do and how do you engage them. And it's a lot like stand-up, but even more varied, it seems. So we're gonna have Harry on again. He's gonna talk more about the clowning world and his adventures in the clowning world and the clown trade. I asked him if he liked the Joker movie. He liked it a lot. So, you know, I didn't know how he'd respond to that, but yeah, and we kept talking on and on off mic, and really got to know Harry. He's kind of a local in the area, but we're looking forward to having him on again and just telling us more about this world that, you know, don't know about you, but I know very little about and find very fascinating. I mean, clowning is a very old art form, and I know a lot of you are, have different opinions about it, but it's still unique and varied and so, interesting. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll be back next week with another, and these are all coming out really great. And so until next time, be good to each other, cultivate power, and know that you're part of a community of people living their truth. So until next time, this is Dank, signing off.